What if one piece of rice paper could turn a simple frame into a true work of art? Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm using 5 different rice papers on 5 completely different projects, including our laser cut diamond frame, a wood tag, a faux book, and a couple of thrift flips to show you just how versatile these spring 2026 Connie Lines and Designs rice papers really are. I'm Cindy, my husband is Chris. Welcome to CnC DIY Factory. Now let's craft around and find out what these papers can do. In this project, I am using a thrifted Birdhouse planter that I've had in my stash waiting for a makeover. I love the green on this, but the raffia bows are a bit shabby and need to be taken off. They're attached with some glue, so I'll use my heat gun to warm up the glue and pull the raffia off. Now, like I said, I do love the green on this, but I want something a little bit brighter, so I'm going to give this entire piece one coat of the DIY paint in vintage linen. I've been so excited about the spring 2026 Connie Lines and Designs rice paper release, and I will tell you more about it throughout the video. To brighten up this planter and to give it a vintage distressed feel, I'm using 2 Sweet Pickins milk paint colors, Curry and Flour Sack, mixed together to create a one-of-a-kind color. Sweet Pickins milk paint comes in a powder form and is mixed with a 1-to-1 ratio with water. Now I like to use warm water and a milk frother to mix my paint, but room temperature water and a small whisk or a stir stick will work just as well. And once I have this mixed up, I'll set it aside to thicken for about 10 minutes. My most favorite thing about milk paint is that it can create a chippy farmhouse look, but sometimes it has a mind of its own. So to ensure that I get some chippiness to my piece, I am using the Sweet Pickins beeswax bar. This beeswax is creamy smooth and easy to apply. You simply rub it over the areas you want to create a resist so the paint doesn't stick. Now my milk paint has had time to thicken up, and I will apply it around the top of the planter, around the inside, and the handle. Once I have the first coat applied, I will dry it quickly with my heat gun to try to help the crackling and crazing process. As it dries, you can see the beeswax is doing its job and keeping the paint from sticking to the areas where it was applied. And once the first coat is dry, I will apply a second coat of the milk paint and dry it with my heat gun. Now I like to quickly dry the milk paint. I feel it gives a better crackle and crazing effect, but you could just let it air dry on its own. So let's talk a little bit about the Connie Lines and Designs Spring 2026 rice paper release. This paper is called Resilience Multiple and is also known as a 3-up. It features the same image in different sizes. A gorgeous hummingbird with pretty yellow flowers. The large image is 5.5 by 7 3/4, and the 2 smaller sizes are 3 3/4 by 5.5. affording multiple options for your decor. This image also comes in a full 8.5 by 11 size sheet with 1 large image. Resilience is one of my favorite papers in this release. I am using all 3 sizes on this one sheet to cover the bottom portion of this birdhouse planter. I am using the wet tear method, where I want to join some of the pieces together so they will blend well with each other and you won't be able to tell that they are not one piece. I'm also using the Fusion decoupage and transfer gel to adhere the rice paper to the planter, and I'm misting the paper with water to help the paper fold into the grooves of the birdhouse. Once the rice paper is completely dry, I will use my finger sander and sand around all of the edges to remove any excess paper. I also used my finger sander and sanded down the milk paint. That beeswax bar really helped to create the perfect chippiness. The milk paint must be sealed with some type of top coat. My favorite top coat is the Sweet Pickins Oil Wax in Dark. This will deepen the color of the milk paint and it will settle into all the cracks and crazing for the vintage look that I'm wanting. I will also add the oil wax over the rice paper and in the grooves of the planter for a complete look. Now after I've applied the oil wax, I will let it soak in for about 10 minutes. Then I'll use a lint-free cloth and wipe off the excess. If you have watched any of my videos before, you will know how excited I get when I use milk paint. It is my favorite type of paint and I am loving how this looks. Well, what do you think? Would you have left the top portion with the original green color, or would you use the milk paint with this 2026 spring release Resilience rice paper? Let me know down in the comments. In this project, I am using our CnC DIY Factory medium size unfinished wood tag. This can be found along with all of the Connie Lines and Designs rice papers on our website at cncdiyfactory.com. These tags are solid raw wood and are perfect for staining. I am using Minwax water-based stain in my favorite color, Vintage Blue. I stained the back and the sides of the tag, and for the front I am applying one coat of the DIY paint in Vintage Linen. Connie from the Painted Photographer hand draws and paints all of her original designs and turns them into rice paper for everyone to enjoy. This piece is called Background Number 1, and I love that she included 2 different background papers in this release. Both of the background pieces are the full 8.5 by 11 sheet. I am simply cutting the paper down to size and I will keep the extra paper for something else. Now I painted the front of the tag with the vintage linen because I want the colors in the rice paper to show true. Otherwise, if I didn't paint it white first, the wood color would show through the paper. I'm also using the Fusion decoupage and transfer gel to adhere the paper to the tag, and I'll mist my paper with water and smooth it down as I go to ensure a smooth, wrinkle-free finish. Once the paper is completely dry, I will use my finger sander and a 220 grit sandpaper and sand off all the excess paper, making sure to get the hole in the tag as well. Now the finger sander is perfect for applying the right amount of pressure and grit to smoothly sand off the paper, leaving a clean, crisp edge. I have these transfers from Essential Stencil called Easter Blessings, and they have been in my stash since last year, but I believe they brought them back again this year. I'm excited that I get to use the church transfer on this Background Number 1 rice paper. I think the colors coordinate perfectly. As with any other transfer, you simply peel off the white backer sheet and lay your transfer on your surface. Then, using a rubbing tool, you'll rub the transfer onto your surface. If you miss a little piece, just lay the transfer back down and rub over it, and it should transfer just fine. Once you have your transfer down, take your carrier sheet, rub over the top of it. It's called burnishing to make sure you have everything down nice and smooth. I thought I wanted a rag bow for this tag, so I gathered up a bunch of fabric and ribbons, and using my Bodabra, I created a rag bow. However, I'm not sure that was the look that I was going for, so I put it aside and went to Plan B. I pulled out my Essential Stencil 1-inch words in the Faith set from last year, and I am going to stencil the word Faith at the top of the tag, using the Fusion Mineral Paint in Wellington for a base. Then I will use the DIY Liquid Patina in Golden Ticket to go over the brown base for a more rich looking gold. I'll also add some of the Golden Ticket to the cross on the top of the church, as well as some of the gold accents that Connie painted in the Background Number 1 rice paper. In the Spring 2026 release, Connie created 12 unique designs, turning them into 22 different rice papers. 10 designs are offered as a single image 8.5 by 11 sheet and also as a multiple size sheet, making it easy to customize your layout for frames, tags, books, and more. Wow, I'm really liking this better with the gold. So to finish the edges of the tag, I am adding DIY golden rule wax to bring everything together. Okay, I'm not leaving the bow to go to waste. I really like the ribbon with the gold crosses and I want to incorporate that into the design. So I went to my stash and I found some mini embroidery hoops that I purchased off of Amazon a long time ago, and not realizing the size was so small, I had put them away and forgot about them. Now I know what I want to do with one of them. I am adding one of the crosses to the oval hoop and securing it with the bolt and nut that came with the hoop. Then I will trim the excess and take the backing piece that also came with the hoop and glue that to the back to finish it off nicely. Okay, this is a super secret tool from my crafting toolbox. I am using a dental flosser to help me string this white and gold twine through the tiny opening at the top of the hoop. Then I will thread this larger white and gold twine through the top of the tag and secure that. And finally, I will thread the small white and gold twine through the larger twine and secure the hoop to the tag. Sometimes it takes some experimenting to get what you want out of a project. I am glad I kept crafting around to find out which version I liked the best. Tell me which one you like, the rag bow or the stencil and hoop. In this project, I am using one of our CnC DIY Factory's original design diamond cutout frame with kickstand DIY kit. Now, I had originally designed this frame last year to be an 11 by 10, and it fits the Connie Lines Designs full-size rice papers. But for this, I needed a smaller frame. So I took this original design and made it smaller to fit the 5.5 by 7 3/4 size image. I'm probably going to make an even smaller size to fit the 3 3/4 by 5.5 for even more options. You can check our website for more information on these frames. I am using the Fusion Mineral Paint in Conservatory and painting everything except for the front of the backer piece. For the front, I am using Fusion Victorian Lace. I am applying one coat of each color. Here I am just marking the outside points of the 4 large diamonds so I can line up my paper evenly. The diamond cutouts were designed to show the edges of whatever image is used, and I like the idea of pulling the designs into the frame to give each piece a little more interest. This rice paper is called Triple Trouble Multiple. Now these 3 bunnies look like they could be cute and snuggly, but then turn around and clean out your entire garden. But how could you be upset if they did? They're absolutely adorable. Now that I have the edges of my paper lined up with the marks where the diamonds are, I will use Fusion Decoupage and Transfer Gel to decoupage this rice paper to the backing. I like to lay down a strip of the gel, then spritz my paper with some water and smooth the paper down with my brush, adding more gel over the top to seal and secure the paper to the board. I'll work across the board until I have the entire piece adhered. The Fusion Mineral Paint has a built-in sealer, so it does not need to be sealed. However, I'm curious what the DIY white wax will look like, so I'm adding some of it to the back of the frame. and then I'll wipe off the excess with a lint-free towel. Oh no! I forgot one thing. Now, before adding the wax, I should have glued down the base plate for the kickstand. I wiped off as much wax as I could, then I will use Titebond Quick and Thick and some stick-fast CA glue in the thick formula and secure the base to the back where the scored base plate is for a no-guessing, easy assembly. I will add the white wax to the kickstand both sides and the top portion of the hinges before assembling, because it's hard to get both sides of these pieces once it is assembled. So after seeing the back of the frame with the white wax next to the rice paper, I decided I didn't want the front of the frame to be muted with the white wax. I really like the brightness of the conservatory color, but I still want the wax, so I'm using the DIY clear wax on the front of the frame. To secure the front of the frame to the back, I am using Titebond Quick and Thick, and then I'm going to go around the inside edge and the outside edge with the stick-fast CA glue in the thick formula. Each frame on our website that has a kickstand has detailed instructions included to assist you in the assembly. These frames are great for adding transfers or molds or both around the sides as well. Your creativity is all that is needed. Let me know what you think of these triple trouble. In this project, I am using a fan favorite from our website, the Wood Faux book. This book is handcrafted by Chris in our workshop with special attention paid to the little details of each piece. The faux books are solid wood and are perfect for staining. I'm using Minwax water-based stain that I get tinted to any color at the paint counter at Lowe's, Menards, and there are a few other hardware stores. I didn't have the exact color I wanted, so I mixed Colton Blue and Verdigris Green to make a teal color. I'm starting by staining the entire book, with the exception to the pages, with the pure white. This is the base color for tinting right off the shelf. To get around the tight corners and the inside lip of the book with the stain, I'm just using an old paintbrush and brushing the stain on. The Minwax water-based stain is my favorite type of stain to use. It has no odor, it's safe to use indoors, it's not combustible, so no need to worry about it catching fire, and it dries very, very fast. Once the white stain has dried, I am going to go around the inside lip and the edges of the book with the teal color and the paintbrush. Then I'll stain the back side and the spine of the book with this same color. This is another one of my favorite rice papers from the Spring 2026 release, and it is called Butterfly Trio. I love the rich colors of each butterfly, and I tried to duplicate the teal color of the small butterfly for my stain. This paper could take you all the way through to the holidays for your decor. I am using the wet tear method on one edge of this paper to create the fibrous edge that will blend in nicely in the hinge of the book. I'm using a water pen, but you could get the same effect with a paintbrush and some water. These faux books are 5 by 7 and are the perfect size for the large image in the multiple size rice papers. And you're left with 2 more images to use on other projects. I am using the Fusion decoupage and transfer gel to apply the rice paper to the book. I'm starting with a starter strip and then I'm working my way across the surface. I like the decoupage and transfer gel because it is a thicker consistency and it seems to hold this rice paper much better than a thinner decoupage medium. Once the paper has dried completely, I will use my finger sander and sand off the excess paper, leaving a clean, crisp edge. Every book needs a title, and what better to use than the IOD Apothecary Label stamp and the IOD Black Permanent ink. I lined up the word butterfly on my thin mount so that my letters are all straight, and now I am inking up the stamps. I will line up my thin mount with the edges of the spine and gently press the stamps down, keeping one hand steady to keep from smearing the ink. Then I'll lift straight off for a perfect impression. I felt like the spine needed a little something, so I pulled out a transfer from Essential Stencil called Vintage Birds, and I found 2 little butterflies that worked perfectly on either end of the spine. I had already painted what would be the edges of the pages with the DIY vintage linen, and now I am going to go over that with the DIY liquid patina in golden ticket. I will give the pages 2 coats of the golden ticket for full coverage. To finish off this book, I found an orange organza ribbon and a butterfly cutout in my stash. I stained the butterfly with the same teal color stain as the book, and I am using hot glue to attach the orange ribbon. Then I will thread the yellow and white twine under the ribbon and tie it off, adding a sweet little bow over the knot, and this butterfly trio book is complete. I love how this book turned out, and I can see this on a bookshelf in a vignette, adding a pop of color to any decor. In this project, I am using a clearance frame from Hobby Lobby. The frame measures 17 by 15. I don't want the picture inside, so I'm going to take this apart, starting with the corner protectors and the sawtooth hanger on the back. Then I will tear off all the brown paper on the back. They used a lot of staples to secure this foam board to the frame, and I needed to be really careful pulling these out or I could damage that frame. I like the frame as it is, and I think it will work with what I want to do, so I won't be doing anything to change it. When I first saw this paper called Reflections of Grace, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. This is a different style of painting for Connie at the Painted Photographer, and I am totally in love with it. I want to remove the white margins and create a rounded rectangle, so I'm using the wet tear method with my water pen, and you could use the paintbrush and some water to get the same effect, but I want a nice soft feathering edge. I'll clean the glass that was in the frame, and then I'm going to lay that on top of the rice paper, making sure it is centered. Then I'll draw a line on the glass around the edge of the paper with a Sharpie marker. I am going to create an antique mirror effect. I have done this before using Roycycled Treasures exclusive paper from the Sonnets Makers box, and I will link that video below if you want to watch it. I have a makeshift table set up outside, and I'm laying the glass with the marker side down on the box. Then I'll take my vinegar and water mixture and spritz the glass. Then I will apply a thin coat of mirror effect spray over the vinegar and water, being careful not to get too much overspray in the center of my glass. The mirror effect spray will not stick to the glass wherever the vinegar is, so it's actually better to use straight vinegar, but my bottle had a mixture, so I just used that. Then once the mirror effect is dry, I'll take a lint-free towel and dab off the vinegar and water, and I will follow this process 2 more times for a total of 3 coats of the mirror effect. If you want a more distressed mirror effect, try adding just 2 coats instead of 3. Once the mirror effect is dry, I will add one layer of the hammered metallic copper spray paint over that and let it dry completely. Now I think it might look really good with a little bit of turquoise spray paint in just a few spots to make it look like a patina. I might have to try that next time. To make the mirror effect complete, it needs a black background. So I'm using a matte black spray paint and I will apply one coat all around the outside of the glass. While the spray paint is drying, I will work on cutting out a new piece of foam board, the same size as the one that was originally in the frame. Once the spray paint is completely dry, I'll bring the glass back inside and clean up anything that may have stuck to the paint while drying outside. Then I'll center my rice paper on the foam board and decoupage it down. Using the Fusion decoupage and transfer gel, I will lay down a strip of the decoupage gel, then spritz my paper and smooth it down with my paintbrush, working my way across the paper. Then I'll use the vinegar and water mixture and a straight blade and clean off the Sharpie marker and make sure the glass is free of lint and fingerprints. I have this all put together in the frame, and to secure it, I am using a frame tacker. I got this on Amazon and I can leave a link in the description box for you. This frame tacker shoots a point into the frame and holds the board securely in place. Once that is secure, I need to cover the back and give it a professional look. I am using a double-sided sticky tape dispenser and applying the tape all around the edges of the frame. Then I'll take a piece of brown paper and secure this to the tape using my finger sander to sand around the edge to remove any excess paper and leave a clean, crisp line. Now the paper is still a little loose on the back, so to tighten it up, I am spritzing it with my water mister, and then I'm taking my heat gun and I will dry the paper. This will shrink the paper and make a nice tight backing. I will add the sawtooth hanger and my stamp, and this piece is finished. These pictures really do not do this piece justice. This turned out so gorgeous. I really want to know what you think about this and if you will give this antique mirror effect a try. Now let's take a look at all 5 of these pieces using 5 of the rice papers from the Spring 2026 Connie Lines Designs rice paper release. Remember, there are 22 new papers, including 12 new designs, with 10 of those designs in 2 different formats, the 8.5 by 11 single image and the multiples. You can find all 22 new release papers along with Connie's previous releases on our website. And if you want any of the wood blanks or kits I used in this video, you can find those on the website as well. Thank you so much for spending time crafting around and finding out with me. If you found this video helpful or inspiring, be sure to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend who loves to create handmade decor. Keep practicing random acts of crafting, and I'll see you in the next DIY. But until then, here are some more DIY videos to inspire your creativity.